Hey guys, it's Pat the Mini War Painter here, and I thought I'd just go over, in long form video I guess, my whole 10 miniature non-metallic metal challenge, and the things that I learned from it and where I can improve, because let's be real here, for the longest time I was probably a very novice. Actually, it's not probable, it is. I'm a very novice painter. And I've never really tried to take a step or a leap to improve any of my painting. And I think this is one of the only times that I've told myself, hey, if you want to improve your painting, you should step out of your comfort zone. And in true classic Patrick, style, I've decided to take that to the extreme and to try and knock out a skill that to me seemed very advanced in 10 models, which, is kind of crazy. But every day, I think I gave myself around 3 hours, 4 hours per model. And I guess this is the result. So to start off, thank you for watching this video. And I hope you get something out of it. Now, most of these I got from the Eldar boarding patrol, not border patrol, boarding patrol. So that included Kiltim Nakmund, which is like the Corsair kit. And I also got, that also includes like the Howling Banshees, Jane Zar, and also included the Void Scarred Corsairs as well. So these are the Void Scarred Corsair Warriors, and these are based on the Drukhari miniature range, I guess. And I really like the sculpts. I don't know if my painting did it justice, but I guess there's only one way to find out. So let's go. So as you have been seeing for the past 2 minutes and 20 seconds, this is the first miniature that I've painted. Now, this miniature I've used kind of like a proof of concept. It's got kind of your edge highlights that you'll do for any other, army painting. And, we're using metallic golds here. And I know I said it's a non-metallic metal challenge, but I really just wanted to use this kind of like a proof of concept, right? Just to see, where the colors would be, what looks good, what doesn't. Obviously, those are meant to be feathers, but I painted them as fur for some reason. So good on you, Pat. But as you can see here, I've used kind of like a magenta pink highlight, edge highlight. The rest is kind of like a dark purple armor. The metal on the top there is, true metallic metal. I think that's Balthasar gold with a little bit of Retributor armor highlighting. And at the very top, it is Iron Warriors with, I believe, another highlight of, if I check real quick, because I've got bad memory, Stormhost Silver, right? So, at the back here, I've used, I believe it is Xandri Dust, and then I've gone over that with a wash of Agrax Earthshade, and then redid it with more Xandri Dust, although this light, I don't think you can really see it properly. At the back of there's Mournfang Brown. The cloak is Warflesh, and that blue there, I believe it is Baharoth blue. I think that's how you say it. So, again, very basic colors, nothing out of the ordinary. The green there is a contrast green, and it's Karandras green. So, keeping it with the Eldar theme there, Baharoth blue and Karandras green, right? So, this is my first model that I did, and, I looked at the colors and I said, yeah, they look pretty good. Let's try out my first ever non-metallic metal attempt with those colors. So, this is my first ever non-metallic metal attempt. Now, when I did this, I watched a couple of Patreons, I watched a couple of tutorials online, and I'll kind of talk about those tutorials that I watched as I go. Now, just as kind of like a word of notice, I guess, This is in no way a reflection of the artists who made those tutorials. This is purely my execution of their tutorials. So, if you think it turned out crap, that's not the artist's fault. That is purely my fault. Those are amazing artists. And yeah, I'm I'm honored to shout them out and tell you about what I learned from them. So, I guess to start off with, I learned about the value sketching, and the people that I learned this from is I think it's called Heresy for Heretics, and then also learned this from NRM Paint from Insta. So I believe he's a Golden Demon winner, and he's an amazing painter. And Heresy for Heretics, he's an Aussie just like me, so he's cool, and he's also doing a lot of synthwave stuff, which I really like, but also some non-metallic metals. So this is where I learned kind of like the value sketching. So you can see on the legs here, I did value sketching. Don't mind my fingers, by the way. It's eczema because it's really cold in Melbourne. You can see if I bring the model a bit closer, I tried doing non-metallic metal on the magenta and the purple, and the purple seemed alright. I don't know why my purple word just sounded like that. The purple turned out alright, although I will say that in areas like that, it's a bit weird, the transition. I feel like it transitions more towards magenta than it does purple, and it reads more like magenta towards purple. Overall, it's a bit dark. You can see here, there's also a weird line going down. I don't know why, but that's okay. I really liked how, so get it back into focus. I really like how the teal turned out and the non-metallic metal gold, especially where the trinkets are. So you can see that spirit stone and that little triangle thing turned out really well. I'm pretty sure that triangle thing is the Eldar sign for guardians and stuff. That non-metallic metal knife there is atrocious. And that was my first attempt at trying to do metals. It didn't turn out well. Doesn't even read like metal. I don't even know what it reads as, but, that's my first attempt. The grenade, though, turned out alright. You can see that on the belt there. The head, I did it as still kind of like a, heavy metal style, as I say. I didn't paint any of the hair, by the way. But yeah, did it kind of like a heavy metal style. Couldn't be bothered doing anything to it. If we look at the top here, you can see I did the gemstone there, which is alright. But yeah, this is my first attempt at doing non-metallic metal. And honestly, you know what? I don't think it turned out the way that I really wanted it to, but as a first attempt, I'm quite proud of it. And it really gave me the confidence to continue on with the rest of the models. This is the second attempt at non-metallic metal, and in my opinion, is the best ever attempt I had. So you can see here, I've done the value sketching, so you can see a lot of blacks. Also took pictures, and I remember doing this. I took pictures from different angles to see where the light would reflect off of this miniature. So you can see in a lot of spaces, I left it pure black. Now, in future projects, I'm going to add a secondary bounce light shadow. So, that might be blue, that might be red, and it will reflect light from below because that's how non-metallic metal works. And I actually learned that tip from Ninjon. So, I'll probably implement that later. But as you can see, the attempt here was a lot more crisper. The gold on the shoulder pad up here, that turned out pretty well to me. And also the gold on his little pouch there, his leather pouch turned out very well. I quite liked it. Even the actual non-metallic metals themselves and the reflections and the transition between like Druchii Violet to Vallejos Magenta, I think that turned out pretty well. When I initially read this, and the colors, I thought to myself, it looks more magenta than purple. But, stepping back, it does read as purple, just a very light purple. Maybe perhaps, this person was in the sunlight and, it was reflecting and, it looked a bit brighter than usual. But I quite like how this attempt turned out. And as I've said in my, YouTube shorts and my Insta reels, I think I peaked at this one. Obviously, there's still room for improvement. And you'll see that for the capes and all that. I did an abysmal job. But as my second attempt, I was quite happy with this. And honestly, I think it all goes downhill from here, but we'll see. So yeah, that's my second attempt. Now, I'm just putting my third attempt here on the paint handle here. This is where I dropped off. So I tried to do a different thing where I tried to use less magenta, but for some reason, as you can see, it turns out even more magenta than the previous one. So yeah, 100% my fault, but I was able to also refine my non-metallic metals for the gold. So I was quite happy with how the gold turned out. Also, it's my first time trying a non-metallic metal spike at the top. Doesn't really read as non-metallic metal, so that was just me playing around with it. But I do like the little sketches that it did at the top, so that's something that I wanted to keep. But overall, the value sketching, I think I could have done better. The transitions could have been a lot smoother. Overall, I felt like this one was quite rushed compared to the others, but still not mad at it. I quite liked the transitions here and how the feet kind of turned out. So, yeah, you know what? I'm not entirely mad at it, but definitely could have room for improvement. So, in an effort to try and rectify my mistakes, because the other one turned out a bit more magenta, I went the complete opposite. And this one I've made purely purple, like dark purple. This is actually the color that I really intended my models to look like. But with all the tutorials that I watched, they always tell me to add magenta. So that's what I kind of did. And a lesson that I've learned is to use less magenta and to keep and retain these darker purples. So you can see here I've used barely any magenta. The only places that I did use it is on the helmet and also on this arm here. Otherwise, the non-metallic metal gold turned out quite well. I didn't do it on the pouch there this time. I was a bit lazy that time. The non-metallic metal grenade between his loincloth, where his doodle should be, turned out quite alright. The cloak and the textures there turned out okay. Overall, I'm quite happy with this. Obviously, there's still room for improvement. The guns, I put low effort in because that wasn't really the main focus of the challenge. One day I'll come back and refine them, but honestly, I'm not mad at this at all. And also, don't mind my abysmal basing skills. I just wanted to put it on something to give it some sort of look. The main focus, once again, is the armor, and, you know, I'm quite happy with this one. Now, in saying that, I could have done a little bit better with the basing for this one. I don't know what the hell I was going for, but I guess I can do a Disney and build a narrative around it. And I could say that, oh, you know, an Eldar Bone Singer decided to build a spaceship on top of, you know, some Eldar dry land or whatever. But anyways, this is my next attempt. And by now I've done 6 models. And I've tried to incorporate the dark purples and also the bits of magenta. And I've also used a bit of flesh. So I've used Cadian flesh to put some like dot highlights in specific places. So you can see down here on this left thigh here, I've used some dots. On this right thigh there, I've used some dots. And I've also placed some dots where the feet are on the side here, if you look closely. So, yeah, I've changed up the formula a little bit. Overall, I liked how he turned out. I've also placed the grey on the gun for where the non-metallic would be. However, obviously I didn't paint it in because, again, that's not the main focus of the challenge. But overall, I'm quite happy with this one. And also tried to do non-metallic for the spike at the top. Yeah, look, the non-metallic silver is something I will have to really learn how to refine, add more blues into it. I know that's something that, you know, Heresy for Heretics does. NRM Paints does, Ninjon does, you know, I've even seen Jay from Eons of Battle do it, so that's something I definitely need to implement. But overall, you know, I quite liked that attempt, and I also quite like that kneeling down pose. I really like it. This next attempt, I'm going to be a massive hater. Don't like the way it turned out, and I do not like the pose at all. For some reason, the pose looks like he's going to fall over at any point. And honestly, when I stuck him onto my painting handle with blue tag, as you can see in my shorts, he fell over a lot when I was painting him. The value sketches weren't that good, and it kind of reminded me of the second attempt that I did with the feet, where if you look here, there's some weird lines again. It could be just the sculpt itself. I think this one was also a little bit rushed as well. As you can see here, like that's not blended at all. You know what I mean? So could have done better there, but what I am proud of is the cape. Now this cape is purely non-metallic metal. In fact, it doesn't even have any metal. But it's reflecting off the light because it's got quite a satin finish. But I've done something a bit different that I quite like, that I haven't seen other people really do. Usually when you peel flesh off an animal or a person, it's not clean. Online, when I see videos of people painting these flesh capes, it's quite clean. Usually when you peel flesh, it ends up like my index finger that I have here, where it bleeds and scabs. So I've added that blood texture to it where the stitches are, and it looks a bit more gory, a bit more Hellraiser, a bit more Saw. So I quite liked how that turned out. But honestly, everything else was a little bit rushed. Look, even at that little leather pouch there, it looked a bit rushed. So yeah, very big room for improvement with that model. Now, moving on to the third last model, I decided to reel back and use everything that I've learned in preparation leading up to the Exarch. And I must say, he turned out very well. I quite liked my little highlights that I did on his left knee plate there with the face. And the non-metallic metals really came through this time. It looks like metal. Like the helmet there, where, you know, there's that little crest above his eyes, non-metallic metal. That looks like metal to me. Same crest on his shoulders, looks like metal to me. Added bits of flesh here and there to kind of do dot highlights. And I quite liked how that turned out. So, little dragon scale cape there. Yeah, I really liked how this one turned out. Moving on, it's quite funny because I was deciding what head to put for this second last one here. And I saw a picture of, you know, of like some bold person. I believe it was Kat from Halo Reach, even though she's not bold, she's got short hair. But it made me want to use a bold head, or maybe it was Aang from Avatar. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I saw someone with bold head, and I was like, okay, I'll make this Eldar have bold, you know, a bold head. So I've also given her some magenta eyeshadow. If I get close enough, you'll see it. It's quite subtle. So she's definitely been to Sephora. But yeah, that's her. Once again, I've done a really light value sketch on the gun, but that's not the main focus of this challenge. The main focus is the armor, and this is probably the best done armor that I've done with the little dot highlights. The color is where I want it to be, where it's purple. As you can see, on this side it's more purple, but for some reason on this foot here it's more magenta. But I could say that the sun is pointing down this way, so, you know, that foot specifically stands out, I guess. I'm just coping at this point. The non-metallic gold up there I'm really proud of. The bone I'm proud of. The scales I'm proud of. So overall, I think this is a success, and I quite liked how this one turned out. If I was to continue this with other infantry, I'll try to paint it as close to her as possible. And I quite liked how her face turned out too. So yeah, it looks like her credit card got declined on Black Friday sales and people were telling her to hurry up, but really liked how she turned out. Now, moving on to the Exarch. And I've got my criticisms, and I'll go through those first, but I'll also say what I'm proud of at the end. So, this is my Exarch. Again, the gun's not the main focus, the cape's not the main focus. The main focus is the model itself. Biggest critique that I have, and my biggest point for improvement, is what's that? That's melted cheese. That is a melted cheese bisque. That is not non-metallic gold. I don't know what went through my head when I did that. And if you look really closely up here where the shield is, there's a little bit of texture. And the reason why, and I've listened to Siege Studios podcast, is because I don't let the paint dry, and I was a bit too quick and hasty. And I painted on top of it while it was still wet. So that creates texture. So that's definitely an area for improvement. However, in saying that, the non-metallic metal gold up here turned out quite well for me. Obviously, I could blend it a bit smoother, but overall, it's not bad. I really liked how this armor turned out. Now, you're probably asking me, and you're probably also saying in the back of your head, Patrick, this looks more like pink / magenta than it does purple. To which I say, I agree. So next time I'm going to keep it a bit darker, and the vase sketch is a bit darker, but I do quite like how the gold turned out. And one thing that I found out is, because gold is very reflective, even in the areas where there's no value sketching, I should still add a little bit of gold there because it's still reflective. Other than that, I really like how the little like dots came out. They're very subtle, but you can see them on the shoes there, on the chest there, the little dots of like pink, nearly white. One area for improvement, and probably the biggest area, is, and if I try to get it to focus, on the head there's non-metallic metal gold, but it kind of looks like spaghettis on his helmet, so I'll try to fix that up next time and make it a bit neater. Otherwise, I like how the gems turned out. You know, I like the colors, and honestly, for my first attempt at doing non-metallic metal for a whole squad, I'm really, really, really happy and satisfied with how all these 10 models turned out. Now, I do have an upcoming video where I'm doing non-metallic metal for, my next squad in that box, which is the Exodites for the Eldar team. So that's coming up soon. I'm very happy with this non-metallic metal attempt. There's a lot of areas and room for improvement that I will incorporate in my next video. Yeah, quite happy with how this turned out, and stay tuned for more attempts for the 10 model non-metallic metal challenge. My name is Patrick, the mini war painter, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.